So now we're going to talk about research. And, research is also looking at, a lot of times, facts we already know and things we want to know more about. So we have four sort of quick hit research presentations. The first one is named Bits Don't Byte. Catchy name, I thought. Anyway, it's a study on HR's attraction and use of artificial intelligence and really the positive evolution. We find a lot in that. We partnered with Alexander Mann Solutions on it and looking at how things are being transformed. There is an argument over the use of the term artificial intelligence. For example, when computers are thinking, they're really doing what's called machine learning. They don't have intuition. So computers don't really do artificial intelligence. That's still my job, okay? So you get the joke, artificial? All right, never mind. Your brain scans are way down at this point. All right, I'm going to invite up Jerry Collier, the Director of Global Innovation and Client Success, Alexander Mann Solutions. Jerry.
Firstly, let me congratulate Ingrid and Anarchy and Craig. Great job, fantastic. And also People Scout and Corn Ferry. I think the challenge of tackling the talent crunch that Jean-Marc presented requires great partnership, so some great examples, so congratulations. What an exciting time we live in right now with disruption. Again, Jean-Marc has presented much of my presentation. Thank you so much for that. Jean-Marc, so I'm going to skip some of those slides. Let's think about the disruption we face. The disruption from data, NLP and AI, machine learning and AI, cloud solutions, robotic process automation. I'd love to stand up here and debate blockchain. Is that just a technology looking for a solution, or is it really something that's going to rock our worlds and help us? Maybe one for later, or not, when we're drinking Heineken. The disruption in our market is tremendous, and I think we sought a path to find what is stopping people adopting digital solutions today, how advanced and how great is the adoption of new, modern, progressive thinking in our marketplace. I'm Jerry Collier. I'm delighted to lead our global innovation practice at Alexander Mann Solutions. We're 4,500 people in talent acquisition, covering contingent labor, recruitment process outsourcing, and consulting in that all around the world. We've got 11 bots today, 2 more in production at the moment, and we wanted to know whether we, in our investments, were making the right, placing the right bets. So partnered with HRO, and many of you responded as part of our survey around this topic. We were really trying to dig into whether AI and robotic process automation is just sizzle. Has anyone seen the example here? I hope this is a Bridgestone example as well. They're wearing Bridgestone tyres of the car that's interviewing their technical engineer. This is Volvo who set this up. Okay, it was a bit quirky. They were developing a new job family, again to Jean-Marc's presentation, where they were looking for a part technician, part account manager. And what they thought was, could they, probably at the Heineken experience, could they get the cars to interview the engineers using the cameras on the cars, digital techniques. Not sure there was any neuroscience involved here. But they went through this process. And we start to hear these kind of examples. Is it just sizzle? Was there real application and is there real adoption in the marketplace? At AMS, we have a strategy which we title Bots and Bodies. We believe very strongly that AI and RPA will empower our recruiters to be recruiters again. I think we've lost that skill. And we are burdened with so much processing these days that we believe that the adoption of these technologies will free and liberate our recruiters to be very special people and address that talent crunch that Jean-Marc talked to. But we wanted to sample the market. Are we wrong? Are we too early? Are we going to miss? So as Elliot said, we partnered through the back end of last year right up to May. So this data is from May. Having been in Shanghai just 2 weeks ago, and I'll share some of what's happening in China as well, this market is moving very quickly. So preface, this data is from May. So we looked at where and why is AI being used. I think some interesting insights here. Has anyone seen the new report from Everest that's just come out around digital disruption in our marketplace, looking at 450 technology, AI and RPA technology firms in HR? If you have, you won't be surprised by some of this, where is it being used, because 43% of the firms in our marketplace are deploying AI and RPA solutions for sourcing and screening, 70% looking at analytics, 27% on attraction and engagement, and 13% on assessment. So it's no surprise, I don't think, that candidate screening is big on here. I think what's interesting, the application of robotic process automation and AI is pretty low in the contingent workforce. And actually, people talk about that being much more of a commodity and a process, yet permanent recruiting being a little bit more sort of humanized. And on the right-hand side, we asked a follow-up question around where, if it's not being used today, where will you see it being used? And again, we see contingent workforce being a focus here. Again, talking about talent, again, AMS defined talent as the entire contingent labor and the entire permanent workforce, payroll workers and non-payroll workers, taking the broadest view of talent. I think we're going to see the application of AI and robotic process automation accelerating in that market contingent workforce. And again, that's what the survey says. For those who've already started this journey, I'm interested in here, has anyone deployed AI in their HR function or robotic process automation in their TA function? Has anyone started the journey yet? We got 4 hands, and one of those is from AMS, which is cheating. What this data says, and we'll kind of come through some of the other findings a little bit later, perhaps, or download the paper, is there's a lot of pioneers who started this journey and been out there for now over 2 years. And we're seeing this build and this momentum build. And one of the things I think that's stopping people is trying to find an enterprise, fully integrated solution to deploy AI and RPA, and not just starting on a pilot basis. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. But you can see from here, those who have adopted have been adopting for quite some time, and they are answering these questions. So the average at this point was 13.1 months. Obviously, that was 6 months ago. So we're well over 18 months average now of people using this. I think this is quite interesting as well, because people say to me, but this is a North American thing. It's easy. Spanish and English, it's easy. We've got cultural barriers in Europe. We've got language barriers in Europe. Look at Asia. Asia's Europe, the complexity of Europe without the scale, or has the scale. But actually, when you look at who is actually adopting this in HR and RPA, I was quite surprised that EMEA is so progressed and that Asia is now charging hard. Latin America, a little bit behind. When I was in China last week, when you hear the stories of Sanofi using AI in their internal mobility and internal recruiting programs, when you hear the stories from Nike, when you hear the stories from L'Oreal about how they're using AI and RPA, I think it's coming really fast in Asia. And I was a little bit surprised here because, again, I thought this was just a US thing. I thought it was everyone in the US is making a bit of a noise, but no, it's actually a global, it's actually a determined and committed global initiative to start to adopt and embrace AI and RPA to deliver outcomes for the business. Interestingly, more people today have a very clear set of metrics than don't when they're measuring their ROI from their programs. When you look at internal mobility and internal recruiting, there is significant metrics and significant ROI already being measured. When we look at where the state of the sophistication of the programs, and one of the things I would ask, one of the things I took away from this and hope would recommend to you is, very few went for this as an enterprise, completely integrated program out of the gate. This was almost put it in the too hard box, fall over, GIS, kill it, it can't integrate with Workday, can't think how I'm going to get this funded, business case. Start small, get going, was the message that we were hearing loud and clear from our survey. Start small, get going. Find something where you can have impact. Let's go back, actually, 2 slides, because there's an interesting development in this space, in the other space. And again, I'm just sharing a story which connects to this data from China. When we're in China, we're talking to a big retailer. They have millions and millions of applications a year. They hire about 14,000 people in China. They have millions and millions of applications. And I was asking what they do with the millions and millions of people who don't get jobs. And the answer was, we ignore those applications. Just ignore them. Don't even get an email back. Don't get a text message. Don't get anything. Just ignore them. And these customers these candidates are also customers. And what we're seeing now is, in this space, is the case for having almost an AI assistant that's sitting in the rejection process, that's taking the feedback through that process and actually adding value to the candidate and saying, we value the time you've spent in exploring an opportunity with us. We're going to give you some value back. We can deliver this today with a sort of a library card and say, here's some content that hopefully will help you in your job search. Good luck, at least given that. But wouldn't it be great if we had a digital assistant sitting in our library saying, welcome into our job room. For the next 90 days, we're going to help you in your job search. We're going to put something back. We're going to give something back to you, as opposed to just A, ignore you, or B, send you an email saying, nah, not for us. And we're seeing a rise in this use case definitely for AI, because I think it's a big miss for us today. What are the expected benefits? Again, when we set out on this, and AMS's business case for our 11 robots, cost was a big driver. Productivity of our recruiters was a big driver. We were really, really pleasantly surprised in this report that 69.5% had already reported positive candidate experience. That this was in the internal mobility program, it was making a difference to colleagues. In the external recruiting program, it was making a marked difference to candidates. We talk about the Harry Potter sorting hat, and stay with me here. But we're just deploying it for the first time, where candidates' preferences are taken into account, but the organizational preferences are taken into account. The candidate might fit Gryffindor, but we might want them also to consider Slytherin. And there are many use cases to change the experience here for candidates, and we were really positively surprised that we thought some of these kind of ROIs would be, the focus right now. Are we taking time out? Are we taking waste out of the processes? Are we freeing people to be more productive? Are we taking cost out? But really surprised by the increase in candidate experience. This is the one but last slide. Again, it goes right back to what we were saying at the beginning. When we asked the clients who had started, how did you start? Well, it was get a pilot, get going. But equally, build a business case. And we were getting really surprised that almost 92% of people say their project is already meeting or exceeding expectations. Some of these people not even live for 6 months. So again, I think it gave certainly us confidence, and I hope it gives you confidence that actually getting going and getting started and finding that first use case, if you haven't found it yet, can make a significant difference, which is summarized here by Deloitte. So just taking this stat from a Deloitte survey, which I think goes right back to business outcomes. Those organizations today that use AI or some other intelligent technology in HR have that kind of impact in their business when you correlate business performance. Is it because of HR and is it because of AI and RPA in HR? Probably you can't directly relate to that cause, but those two data points exist. Those progressive organizations who are starting on this journey are performing well as businesses. If you'd like a copy of this research paper, you'll find it on HRO Today or on our website, Alexander Mann Solutions. It was a fascinating piece of research for us. It emboldened us in our journey, and I hope it also gives you confidence to start on yours. Thank you so much, Steve.